Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of the Nexus Chop Shop, the show where myself, my co-host Haas, and a special guest will design, a new cool hero that may or may not make it to the game at some point. Yeah, Haas, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. Yourself?
Yeah, can't complain. Another week, another Chop Shop. I am
Yep.
excited to present our concepts to the viewers. And I think especially this week we have some really cool stuff to show off. So yeah, and as our special guest, we have SK Bakery. How's it going, bro?
Hello, ho, ho. It's going alright, actually, as it turns out.
Hashtag bakery hype and all that good stuff.
Bakery
Of course,
hype.
of
Can't
course.
forget about the bakery hype. So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself real quick to all the viewers on YouTube and Twitch, just in case there are some amongst them who don't know who you are.
Okay, I'm Bakery. I play Rain's Assassin for SK Gaming's Heroes Storm team. My favourite hero is Valor, because she's the best.
She is quite good. And
Yeah.
you know what? I think it's actually really cool that we get to see a lot of different Valor builds these days. It's really awesome, not just the normal standard multi-shot build, She's getting some love.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. In my eyes as well, Valor is the most balanced hero in the game. Like never banned and always picked. That's perfect balance right
Yep.
there.
Kappa.
Yeah, I'd agree, definitely.
Yeah.
But never nerfed. Yeah.
Yeah. No need to nerf. No need to buff. Perfect spot. No, that's no joke. That's serious. Like Valor is in the perfect spot right now.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool. So last time we actually had a vote going on as well, because as you guys know, we will give you guys the chance to vote which hero or champion design you enjoyed most. And oh man, something miraculous happened last week, Haas.
Didn't
Why-
it just?
Why don't you tell us about it?
I didn't lose.
You
I did not lose.
It's incredible. Yeah.
It was awesome. Imperious won though. You can't really rival Oxygen. I'm just happy I didn't come last. But
Yeah.
remind me, who did come last?
Oh man, really? Do you want
Yeah.
to put that
I'm
salt
going
into
there.
my wounds?
I'm going there.
Oh man,
Yeah.
You know what? I actually spent most time designing that Vol'jin hero. Like I spent more time on him than on any other champion before, and I'm like, there was no way I could lose this one. At least not to Haas, who just came up with a measly StarCraft 2 medic. No, I'm just kidding. Lisa Cassidy was
Lame.
actually really cool.
But yeah, should we get into this week's one?
Absolutely. And as it has become tradition on this show, we will let our special guest go first. So, Bakery, take it away. Use your time wisely to get all the fame or all the glory.
And yeah, just give a
Okay.
short little introduction about who your hero is first without telling us who it is.
Exactly. So, once again, we have the infamous red curtain. The show is
Okay,
yours.
so my hero is probably the most cliche hero you could ever pick to do a hero concept for on this show. Probably.
Okay.
A lot of people love him. There's been a lot of hero concepts in the past for this hero.
Yep.
Um,
So,
Do you
what
think yours is the best?
what universe does he derive from, or she?
so he comes from the StarCraft universe, actually.
Cool.
Okay.
Any more hints than that?
I probably should have thought of these before I came on the show. To be honest.
Okay, I'll give another one to the audience out there. In my opinion, he could have needed an extra pair of batteries. Do
What?
you get it?
Oh, that is a good one. That
Have
is
you-
a very good one.
Oh, Haas has probably no idea what we're talking about,
No.
right?
We already established I'm not a heavy lore person.
He's probably going to be like, I'm not a lore person. I'm
Yeah.
more of a...
We know this.
No,
That was a very sad cutscene, as it turns out.
it was very sad. You're right. And yeah, so without further ado, I think we can lift the red curtain. And boom. You are able to behold a wonderful and handsome Protoss face. So, Bakery, who is it?
It's Phoenix, actually, as I'm sure no one guessed.
Awesome.
Well, Forecourt got it.
Yeah.
Sauce.
Forecourt loves
I'm
it.
sure that Forecourt
Forecourt's
Jester
stupid.
absolutely got the battery, pun, whatever. So cool.
Alright,
Yeah, it's
just
Phoenix. Why don't you give us a little bit of an overview about his general playstyle? Like, what do you want him to be, or what did you think of when you designed him?
Okay, so the main thing I think of when I think of Phoenix is I think of like this badass sort of warrior dude, like charges in, like
Yeah.
he's the sort of like He's the epitome of a zealot, a Protoss zealot. And like the other thing is that when he spoilers, when he died, he came back as a Dragoon.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to sort of represent that somehow. And so I've really put a lot of work into trying to like encapsulate the sort of like the charge-in badass zealot dude, and then like when he like dies, he's going to come back as a sort of like badass Dragoon guy as well.
Awesome. So once again, similar to Haas's hero in the first week when we had Tatra on board, where he had Rory Swan, it's pretty much a hero that has 2 kits. Am I understanding that right?
Yep, that is correct.
Cool. So to all of you who are not really, getting it right, or can't think of something that we're trying to establish here, it's pretty much similar to heroes in League of Legends, like Jace or Elise, where you have 2 kits in one, basically, and they all sort of differentiate from each other, right? They're different to play, depending on what form you're currently in. Okay, cool. So I like that. It actually was a little bit more extra work for me to do because I had to do another scene, right, with more buttons and more skills, but that's cool. That's totally fine. So yeah, what's the general playstyle going to be, Bakery? You mentioned that Phoenix is supposed to be a warrior, correct?
Yep, that is correct. Well, he's actually a specialist. He will be
Nice.
classed as a ranged/melee specialist.
Cool.
If you had to put him a category for this game. And the reason for that is because when he like first spawns into the game, he's a zealot.
Gotcha.
And so he goes around, he does zealot things. He's like a full-blown warrior, proper like tank, but a lot of like a high damage tank as well.
And we definitely need more StarCraft 2 tanks, right?
Yeah, definitely. And then when he dies, he actually comes back as a Dragoon.
Sweet. So that's
and-
also probably his trait.
Yeah, that is indeed his trait.
I'll try to avoid the term D because, we all like to talk about the D, but why
Yep.
don't you give us the trait here? You mentioned it briefly. Why don't you explain it a little bit more in detail?
So when he dies in his zealot form,
Mm-hmm.
he actually revives on the spot 10 seconds later as a Dragoon, and that changes his entire kit. It changes his health value, his attack damage value. It changes what ultimate he can use. His entire mechanic is based on that. And this Dragoon is untimed life, and when it dies, it gives full XP. It's like when that dies, it's like a full hero death, and when
Gotcha.
Phoenix dies, it's like full XP. Everything like that.
So it's not like an immortal copy from Uther, like when he dies. It's actually a
No,
full-blown hero.
It's actually another hero that just comes back
Cool.
on the spot of Phoenix's death. 10
So-
seconds later.
What happens, though, if Phoenix dies in his Dragoon form? He will have a normal cooldown, right?
Yep, a full death timer.
Gotcha. And once he respawns as a Zealot Phoenix, does his Dragoon form also have a cooldown, or is it like insta-ready again?
Nope, there's no cooldown at all. Like he could like die,
Yeah.
10 seconds later die again, run out of the base, like after that death time, die again, and then he'll come back as a Dragoon again. There's no
Nice. I
cooldown
think
at all.
that's really awesome
Yeah.
because if you think about it, we don't really have a full reincarnation kit aside from Diablo. But we don't have we
Yeah.
have a reincarnate, but we don't have a reincarnate transformation, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. And I think if you put it this way, like it's not too broken, or it's not as broken as it may sound when you first hear about that skill. Because if your team fight is losing or if your team is losing the team fight anyway, then the 10-second cooldown or timer on Phoenix's passive will probably not be too good because it's going to die anyway. Because
Well-
your opponents, your enemies will just sit there and laugh greedily and rub their hands together and be like, another target, awesome, right?
The other problem as well, of course, is that since he's a warrior in one form, he runs in and he runs into the middle of the enemy team, he gets stun locks and dies.
Yeah.
10 seconds later, there's a squishy ranged assassin about to pop up in the middle of the enemy team.
I'm sure
So-
that would have to require a lot of careful planning and positioning.
It would, yeah.
Awesome sauce. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about his melee kit, about his zealot form. Do you want to start with the Q?
So his Q is a pretty like basic ability. It's basically charge, and it's like a targeted ability. And so you click it on a target enemy, and it's got sort of a decent range. Not too high, but like a medium kind of range. And you just charge like straight to that enemy, like you would in StarCraft, like a Zealot would in StarCraft. And any like units that he hits on the way, he deals like a small amount of damage to. He knocks them like slightly aside, and obviously interrupts them. So I quite like the interrupt element on this because, especially for heroes like Nazebo, if you see a Nazebo, you're gonna have to try and line up like the Nazebo behind another enemy hero.
Yeah, exactly.
To try and get the interrupt off.
Yeah. And by the way, we had a question from somebody in the chat who said that the Dragoon form wouldn't be squishy because it says unlimited life. And I think the way you were thinking about it was that it's not a timed avatar form like Uther has or Tyrael has. It's pretty much like a full 100% hero that also gives another bit of XP when you kill
it's
it.
not like 60 seconds of Dragoon life and it's gone again. It's just it's untimed life, but it is like squishy. It can be killed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like the charge. As you mentioned, it's always good to have some sort of mini stun, mini interruption possibility in a meta or in a game where you have quite a lot of heroes who are dependent on their ultimates, to be channeled. We have Lily, for example. We have Nazebo, of course, like the most important heroic ability that can be or should be interrupted. I like it. And I think it shouldn't be too difficult to design something like that because they already have the Zealot kit in StarCraft 2, right?
Just bring it over. Seems like that's what they've done with the replay system. Just do it with charge as well, you know.
And we're still waiting for the pause function, though.
Soon TM.
Soon TM.
Soon TM.
Soon.
Good. Off we go to the W then.
So the W's Hardened Shield. Sorry about the name,
Yeah, it's not like that's level 20 talent. Get out.
And it's not his D talent, so okay.
Yeah, my bad, guys. But basically, this is just a shield, so kind of like a Nubarak shield. But it sort of buffs him. So when the shield is active, let's say it lasts for 8 seconds or something. When the shield's active, it gives him movement speed and attack damage.
Yep.
And it causes the cleave to deal more damage. That's his E. We'll get onto that later. And upgrades the slow on the E to a stun.
Cool. But also like more of a mini stun, not like a 2-second stun or something.
Yeah, no, it still is a mini stun.
Okay.
So the important thing to note is this basically causes Phoenix to be focused. Like it gives a reason for the enemy team to focus him, because if you leave like a Phoenix up with Hardened Shield up in the middle of your team, he's just going to wreck everyone. But as soon as that shield goes, he's back to a low damage, like slightly tanky warrior.
I like the idea, and especially considering the fact that a Protoss without a shield is no Protoss, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And but what would happen? Just imagine the following scenario: Phoenix uses his W shield, then he gets shielded by Tassadar. Would that still count as a shield for his extra attack speed and attack damage, or does it have to be his own shield?
So it has to be his own shield, but it would work the same way as League does with like effect shields. So if you have a League, the Morgana shield, no matter when it's applied, instantly goes to the bottom of like the shield pile. Cool. Every other shield is taken off first, and then the Morgana shield last.
Yeah.
So it would be like that.
I mean, Blizzard could even implement or come up with another shield color to signify that, to make it more obvious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have a particle effect on the hero itself, so I think it would be quite easy to see.
Yeah, exactly.
It's his shield.
Awesome, I like it. Any comments so far, Hoss?
No, it's just a very classic Zealot style of play coming out.
Yeah, and once again, I think it's something that I mentioned already when we were talking about Rory Swan on the first episode. If you have a hero that does have 2 kits at the same time, you can't make either of those kits super challenging to play, because otherwise, especially newer players may get confused and may actually be frightened to pick that hero.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what about his E then?
So his E is actually an ability that I'm really fond of. And basically, it's kind of like Zeratul Q. So it's the same kind of radius, a bit bigger. Like think Zeratul Q with the level 1 talent, Greater Cleave.
Yeah.
And it deals like a small amount of damage, like on its own, without the W up, and it slows nearby enemies by 90% for 0.25 seconds.
Sweet.
And it is on a very low cooldown, so I'm thinking like 2 seconds or 3 second cooldown.
Yeah.
And like this is sort like this and the W are sort of the core parts of like fighting with this, fighting with Phoenix.
Yeah.
So like although it's low damage by itself, like if you have the W down, you're just spamming it. It's like low damage. It's you're not really doing anything. Obviously, it's like a very short slow, so like not really very effective.
Yeah,
but as soon as you activate that W, then you're like chunking people for quite a lot, and also it does upgrade itself to a stun. So that does allow him to like get the interrupts off on people like Nazebo. It does allow him to almost lock down targets, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is only like a 2 second cooldown. It is quite an effective lockdown if you can stay on that target.
I like it. And the fact that he is supposed to be a warrior in that melee form, in that zealot form, I think justifies having him, or of him having like 2 mini stuns, because he won't be like the biggest bruiser or the biggest killer anyway, but it's enough to interrupt people and to cause some confusion in the backlines. So
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, works well. And the idea of turning what is essentially a snare into a stun is pretty good as well. And especially because it's on such low cooldown, something I'd like to see with that is if you could cleave while you're like mid-charge, so people you knock away get stunned for a bit of time as well.
Yeah, without actually interrupting the charge, right? You just do it while you're cruising.
I had thought of that, and I thought, like, my first thought when I thought of that was that would be incredibly hard to code. I really hope they do it.
Well, that wouldn't be our problem. That we would just give that to the
Blizz.
guys at Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And
I have faith.
I mean, who wouldn't like the idea of playing a Protoss and do some drive-by cleaving with side blades? Isn't that awesome? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's hope they didn't run out again.
All right, so let's get to everybody's favorite abilities, the heroic abilities.
Okay, so I've done something interesting here. I'm not sure if this really works, but
Okay.
So you have 2 selections of like the ultimate. And one can only be used in Zealot form. So when you play Dragoon, it is just deactivated. And the other can only be used in Dragoon form. So when
basically,
you play Zealot, it's just deactivated.
Yeah, so basically you could decide whether you want to lay focus on your melee form or your Dragoon form later on. So
Yeah.
you couldn't have both.
I mean, you could have both, but you couldn't have both the ultimates.
Okay, cool.
You could play both styles, like, because you don't really need either one to play the role effectively. Like, I made sure to make it not a core part of the kit,
Gotcha.
but make it like a very welcome addition if you do have it.
Gotcha. Okay, so what is the Zealot's heroic ability then?
Okay, so the Zealot form heroic is Sire Flurry. And this is, you dash around the battlefield, becoming vulnerable and dealing damage to random enemy heroes sort of in your range. So if you've ever played Fiora in the League,
Or the Juggernaut
this
in
is
Dota?
basically her ultimate.
Yeah.
I haven't played Dota, but if it's the same, I would assume. But this is like a high damage ultimate. There's no like CC on it. So this is very much one you want to use at the end of your Zealot tanking sort of lifespan. So you go in there, you do your tanking thing. As you're about to die, you can just pop this ultimate. You get a few more seconds of like being a tank and having all your tank utility, and you deal a lot of damage.
Gotcha. And I take it for granted that you won't be able to use your normal abilities while channeling your heroic ability. Am I right?
Yeah, that is.
So you
definitely
couldn't like pop a Scythe Flurry and then spam those cleaves at the same time.
I think it would be possible to use cleave, but only cleave, no other ability.
Okay. Cool.
Because that it allows you to specialize where your damage wants to be. So as you arrive at a certain target you want to do more damage to them, you can pop your E on them.
Cool. I like it. And just imagine of all the cool possibilities you would get by designing this visually, right? A Protoss shifting around, teleporting around. Oh my god, the Craigasms that people would have, the amount of Craigasms would be just through the roof.
Yeah.
I
Would
certainly
be
hope
awesome.
so.
I like it quite much. So yeah, and you gotta say that there is, or you can't have a MOBA without like an Omni slash type of ultimate. That's or the what was Fiora's called, the Blade Waltz or something.
Yeah, Blade Warts.
Yeah. So that definitely has to become a part of Heroes of the Storm, in my opinion. Okay, so we still have a whole new kit to do. So take it away, Bakery.
Okay, so onto the Dragoon form kit.
Yep.
So the Q is Singularity Charge, and that shoot out an orb that deals big damage and passes through enemies. So I'm trying to think of like, I can't actually think of a hero or champion from League that actually has this kind of ability.
Just a high damage line of fire thing.
It's just the orb. You just shoot out an
Yeah.
orb in a straight line, it deals damage. Like, and it
I
passes
guess
through
kind
enemies.
of like Zerath's orb, but goes through and doesn't stun.
Yeah, it is kind of like Zerath's
Yeah.
orb, yeah.
Okay. And how fast would that orb move? Like comparable to other
it's
skills in the game?
a relatively slow travel time.
Mm-hmm.
Although there is no cast time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is definitely dodgeable.
Nice.
But it does
Nice.
do a lot of damage. Kind of like Sivir Q.
And it
but
wouldn't
old.
stop with the first target it hits. It would pass through.
No, it just carries on straight through.
Gotcha.
It's quite long range as well.
Nice.
Awesome.
W it
so
is then.
high damage. Now W.
Okay, so the W is overcharge, and that just lets out a shockwave that damages enemies. This would be a fairly short cooldown, like 5 seconds or something. And this is basically to give the Dragoon like high wave clear. So like if you QW a wave, the entire wave's gone, basically.
Cool. And I mean, if it turned out to be too strong, you could still change one of the spells, like damaging heroes only, and the other one goes to minions as well. I think those spells could be quite easily balanced.
I mean, because I had to make him a specialist, because obviously he doesn't actually fit any of the other terms.
Yeah.
Phoenix, this is. I thought like having high wave clear is sort of a staple of specialists, so that's something I want to include.
That is actually true. If you think of Sergeant Hammer and Nazebo
And Zagara.
and Sagara, they do
And
all have
Zagara.
a pretty sick wave
And
clear.
Asmodan.
Holy cow.
And Asmodan, yeah.
Yeah.
And Murky.
And Sylvanas in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So ain't no specialist without some wave clear. Awesome. I like it. The E then as Dragoon.
So that's Singularity Shift, and that's basically just sort of a blink. And when you arrive there, it shoots sort of an enemy in range. So this is kind of like Ezreal.
Ezreal's, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Ezreal.
Fair enough.
Cool. Yeah, pretty straightforward. I don't think we have to explain a whole lot more here. But the upcoming heroic ability is something I'm sure that a lot of StarCraft 2 geeks will totally love.
This is definitely one of my favorite abilities on the here.
Yeah.
So the ultimate for Dragoon is becoming immortal.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a small setup time, like some sort of parts will fly down from the sky or something, and then you just become an immortal. So you get huge like attack damage, huge shields. It's kind of like Tychus' Odin, but you're an immortal, so it's much cooler.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Protoss is always
Definitely.
Protoss do things better than everybody else. I agree. And just imagine the cool, once again, the cool things that Blizzard could come up with, like giving him a hardened shield once again, or a special shield effects that when he gets shot, those immortal shield effects from StarCraft 2 pop up. I think the possibilities here to make it really look cool are just endless.
Yeah, it's like when I first thought of this, my mind was blown. The amount of cool opportunities they could do with this visual design is just, I couldn't handle it.
In theory, I think we've talked about it quite a lot of times in the past already, Haas, but as the game progresses and as the game introduces more heroes into the Nexus, I think we could come up with some small gimmicks and Easter eggs. For example, like when Phoenix transformed into a immortal, he could deal like a little bit of extra damage to Sagara's minions, for example, just like in StarCraft, or do some little bit of a shenanigans here. I think. What do you think about these ideas, Bakery? Are you a fan of that, or do you think everything should remain straight neutral? And
So it's always awkward when designing these features because there's some controversy when I first started playing League. There's this season 1 competitive match, and this Vayne survived on 1 HP, and it was like a 1v1. It was a 1v1 with Fiona.
That actually happened to you? Oh my goodness.
It didn't happen to me. It was in a actual competitive game, and like the forums I frequented at the time were freaking out. They were not happy.
Yeah. Because there are quite a few of those. You've got Yorick against Maokai deals 1 less damage because plants versus zombies.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
there's quite a lot of that stuff. So as much as I would love to see it, I really wouldn't want to have game 7 of the BlizzCon Grand Finals be decided on a hidden passive or something.
And I mean, Blizzard could still do something like introduce a special game mode where these type of features would be allowed. I don't know.
I think if features like that win quick match in Hero League, I'd be very happy. I'd love to see those features in a.
And in a custom game, you could just tick that option off.
Customs tick box.
Because that's something with StarCraft. There's the option for the sandbox mode in there, which is why we see so many game modes.
I like it.
So yeah.
Awesome sauce. So yeah, unless you want to add anything to your Phoenix character. I think we are ready and good to go to move on then, shall we?
No, I believe that's what I have to say. Any questions?
No. Looks pretty straightforward to me. I like it. I would totally play him.
Yeah, I played Protoss in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, so I definitely play Phoenix, although I'm not a big specialist player. As you know, I'm pretty trash at any carry role.
You meant to say every role, I think.
Wow. This UK flame coming out.
I heard Haas was a real good Stitches though, who's rocking that master skin to the fullest.
Okay, so me and Bakery played in 2 tournaments together or something like that. Back when we had an all UK team plus 1 German, and it was all I could play was Stitches.
Gotcha.
And if we didn't get Stitches,
I think you at least took 2 huts.
Yeah, I at least hit 2 in an entire game. Can confirm. But yeah, let's move on. Kendrick, it's you up next, isn't it?
Yep, it is my turn next. Once again, we put up the red curtain. I'll give you guys in the chat and on YouTube as well, if you want to, celebrate in front of your monitors when you got it right. Some hints. My character comes from the universe of Warcraft, World of Warcraft to be exact. It is also featured in Hearthstone. Or he or she is also featured in Hearthstone, although not as a hero itself, but rather as a card. And it is going to be, or he or she is going to be a support champion. So that's something you could roll with, Haas.
Yeah, this is your first support you've done, I think, isn't it?
It really is.
Everything's been aggro.
Because somebody stole my concept last week, or 2 weeks ago.
No, it was last... Oh, no, 2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
I literally showed up and was like, Haas, what are you going to do? And then he responded.
Diablo 3 monk, let's go, boys.
Oh my god. And I had my whole concept done already. And I was like, no way. Okay, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, let's cut the chit-chat. My hero is going to be a Draenei because Hero of the Storm needs more Draenei. So far, we don't have a single one, right? No trolls, no Draenei.
Nope, no trolls.
So,
apart from Snitch and Muppy, no trolls.
So yeah, let's lift the curtain then. And as you can already tell, it is none other than Prophet Velen, the chief, or the chieftain of the Draenei, so to speak. And yeah, I thought about him because so far we don't really have a Warcraft priest style of support, right? We do have a paladin, which is of course the one and only Uther, and we do have a shaman, which is Rhaegar, but I think we could really need a more priesty type of class or hero. So yeah, I had a challenge when designing him because I didn't want him to be like Healy only, like Lily. Many people say that Lily can't really do anything else aside from healing people.
She can't.
I have to agree. Her damage output is not as it should be, in my opinion. The water dragon is rather useless. And I did not want Velen to become a second Lily. So I also try to put some damage skills in there that are actually worth taking. So yeah, pretty much a heal beast, but also at the same time, you are able to dish out some damage. Yeah, and let's move on to the talents or skills then. Let's start off with everybody's favorite talent. I'm not going to call the letter, but it's called Gift of the Naru. And it's pretty much like a buff that Velen bestows on an allied hero, and it removes all poison effects, like Nazebo's poison, for example, stitches, and venom talents.
Yeah.
Pretty much like a cleanse, but only against poison.
Or damage over times, yeah.
Exactly, all damage over time spells. And all healing that this target receives will be increased. I didn't name a number because I think we could debate over that, but something along those lines, like 25%, 30%, not more than that, because I think that would be really OP.
Yep.
So yeah, he basically blesses a target, that target loses all its damage over time effects, and also gets increased healing.
Very nice.
I'm just gonna put in like that. I love that idea. The amount of times that you, the removing the bleeds and stuff.
Yeah,
the amount
exactly.
of times that you see a target and you know he's gonna die. It's like, well,
yep.
I'm sorry, my friend.
We had a debate once about Envenom. I remember that on Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about how Envenom was OP on certain heroes.
It really was. Or
I hate Envenom.
It still is.
I know you do.
Especially, I think, in my opinion, also, like, the healing well should do the same thing. Like, if you tap on the healing well, it should actually remove the poison, in my opinion, or something like that. Because how many times have you died, even though you drank from the fountain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is just frustrating.
Yes, I'm safe, and then no, Envenom, that must Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you like it. Let's move on to the Q then. It's called Holy Grace. And what it basically does is it heals for a moderate amount of damage. It heals for a moderate amount of HP. I actually did a typo there, but whatever. If Holy Grace hits a target blessed by Gift of the Naru, which is of course the D, the passive trait, it will chain heal up to 2 nearby allied heroes for half the amount. So basically, you could time that. You could put that on your warrior.
Yeah.
The warrior charges in, and then you put the Q on him, and it heals nearby allied frontliners, for example. Or you put it on your carry in the backline, and it'll heal nearby targets for half the amount. Yeah. Oh, did we lose Bakery?
No.
Man, down. Okay, good.
He may be good at the game, but
I'm back.
Sky. No.
It's because I have to VPN it. I think I could blame that.
What?
What?
You have to VPN it?
Yeah. I got
Why?
DDoSed once. My proxy for my Skype got DDoSed once in a game.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
It wasn't me. Saying that one now, it wasn't me.
I blame you. I still blame you.
I haven't played in a tournament for a long time. It couldn't have been me.
Yeah, us mere mortals, we don't have to deal with problems like those.
I've never been DDoSed. Luckily.
So yeah, that's pretty much the Q. You put that. It's if you just heal somebody without the buff, it's like a single target heal. If you heal somebody with the D on it, then it's an AoE, slightly AoE heal. Cool. So yeah, let's move on to the W then. It's called Second Sight because, as some of the lore geeks out there know, Velen actually has the gift of Second Sight and divination. So he's able to tell you what's going to happen in the future. So Velen instantly casts his last spell, or his last basic spell. We have to underline that.
Next basic ability, yeah.
Basic ability, exactly. Or the trait, again, however, with 50% of its strength. New targets can also be assigned.
Yes.
So basically, you use that, and if you've used your passive, then you can cast passive again. If you've used your Holy Grace, you can do another heal. So basically, what you could do is like you D, Q, and W for 2 AoE heals. However, the second one is not going to be as effective and not as powerful as the first one.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah, Bakery, you're still with us? We just can't see you, right?
I am indeed still with you.
Okay, yeah, I know that
Working
Skype is being funny sometimes and it won't actually reconnect to your webcam. I know that from other streamers, so don't worry about it. We still have your lovely voice.
Okay.
Cool.
The lovely British accent.
Exactly. The E skill is called Divine Blast, and it shoots a ray of pure light towards a target direction, damages and slows enemies in its path, and if it hits a target, a friendly target, it will actually give a little shield as long as the target has been blessed by Gift of the Naru. That's like the only thing you have to keep in mind. So it's pretty much like the Lux skill from League of Legends.
Yeah.
Only that it will also damage and slow minions and enemy champions, because every hero, in my opinion, needs some sort of wave clear. Otherwise, it's just not as viable. And we can see that with Lily, for example.
Yeah, I was going to say, try telling that to Lily.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also, you know, as you can tell, Velen is all about, you know, coordinating your passive trait. You have to use it carefully, but if you do it right, then you can actually heal a lot and shield a lot. So, yeah, that's the Divine Blast.
Heroic time.
Heroic time, everybody's favorite time. So, once again, the first one is called Holy Avatar. And what I try to do here is basically make Velen untargetable for normal auto attacks and physical attacks of all sort. And so he turns into that light form, like an ethereal light elemental, so to speak. And there we go! The handsome bakery is back.
Bakery hype!
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
Awesome.
Bakery hype.
Bakery hype.
Nice.
So get your hands out of your trousers and... no, just kidding. Alright, so Velen basically becomes a light spawn, so to speak, in the Holy Avatar form, and he can only be damaged by spells and ability damage. At the same time, he is silenced, so he silences himself, gets an increased movement speed, so he's just like moving as fast as light, so to speak, and every allied hero that he touches in this form, like he runs through them or he runs close to them, will get a heal. So you just like are the embodied form of a healing spell.
Yeah. You are a heal.
You are the heal, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And I think you could do crazy visuals once again, like become a holy champion, a ray of light, whatever.
What I'm just kind of imagining now is kind of like a Jace gate, just like warping all over the map in a team fight, just letting people pass through him.
Yeah,
my imagination isn't great.
And I think I had to add like some downside to this ultimate, otherwise it would just be ridiculously OP. Like you can't be targeted by auto attacks or physical spells. So yeah, he silences himself. He can't use any other spells during that ultimate time. But as I said, he becomes the healing spell pretty much. And if your team groups up, you just run through all of them and heal them.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
Okay.
And now I'd assume the second heroic has a little bit more damage to it?
Exactly. It's called the Naru Intervention, and it pretty much summons a Naru spirit above Velen, pretty much to Lily's dragon.
Yeah.
Like whatever. You get the idea. And this Naru spirit will randomly bless nearby enemy-friendly heroes with Gift of the Naru. Velen also has reduced cooldown on his basic abilities. So basically what happens is you give an AoE version of your trait onto your friendly targets, and then you can spam your basic abilities like crazy. Yeah, like that also means you can damage enemies more often with your E.
Yeah. Nice. So many W's, so many E's, so many Q's everywhere.
He's pretty much a light show.
Yeah.
Like a holy
Fireworks.
light show.
Insert Katy Perry here.
The walking firework.
Now, one question to you guys about this kid. Do you think we should make Prophet Velen a melee or a ranged support? From all what you've heard so far.
I think ranged.
I think melee.
Go on.
I think melee, because this amount of utility from like the back is pretty
I thought so as well.
Yeah.
I agree with Bakery here, because it would also work more with the concept of the Holy Avatar. Like, you are in the front line, and then you turn to that form and heroic ability, and you just run around. If you stood in the back line for that, You could just peel too easily for your carries in the back, I think. So
It would also be quite entertaining if you were stood in the back and you were
yeah,
like healing your
it
team,
would
and then you
also make it more difficult for yourself to time your spells correctly if you are in the heat of battle in the front line. So I think that would make him more challenging to play.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
What is the move speed like in Holy Avatar?
You could increase it. Let's say that's a good
Are we talking
question.
like
actually,
mount speed or a little bit more, a little bit less?
I think sprint speed would be a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely it would.
Yeah.
So
we can agree on that one.
let's say maybe as the Tyrael E buff, like the Tyrael E movement speed buff, which is like 20%. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the movement speed buff from
20-25%.
Yeah.
Yeah, something along those lines. Like,
Noticeable enough.
yeah, like
So you could catch up to your teammates if they were like
exactly.
running
That's
away.
like the most important thing. You would definitely be faster than normal move speed to catch up.
Yeah. Awesome sauce.
Yeah, that's Prophet Velen for you. Hopefully, he's going to perform better than my last hero, which was Vol'jin. And it makes me very, very curious to see what Haas came up with to defend his second place maybe this week.
Yeah, I need to get 2 second places in a row.
Guys, don't do it.
So, I guess a quick introduction.
Yep, sure.
He is the second specialist I've done. I've done
Mhm.
2 supports and 2 specialists now. He is from the Diablo universe, notably Diablo 3. Is seen at the end of Act 2, and he is known as the Lord of Lies.
The Lord of Lies.
Yes. The Lord
Not
of
to be
Lies
confused with
himself.
the Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, not to be confused with Lord of the Flies, the book.
Yep.
No, Lord of Lies.
Gotcha. I think most people will have guessed it by now. So tell us who he
It's
is.
Belial.
Sweet. So we lift the curtain. Look at his awesome picture. I found that on a Divine Art page, and it's just too awesome to be not taken. So yeah, it's Belial.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, yeah, starting things off with the trait.
Yeah, just
We
tell us
have-
a little bit about the
Yeah.
ideas that you
About-
had when you came
Yeah.
up with that design.
So-
like, what's he gonna be played as?
I remembered, like, having the epic boss fight against Belial when you're kind of, like, segregated away from him and he just spams a load of spells towards you and summons things down. And that's kind of what I wanted to go for, the whole... Have some summoning in there. Stay true to what Belial is. He is a Lord of Lies. He is, essentially, when it comes down to it, a liar. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I wanted to get him a little bit closer to the action. And yes, he has his little minions to help him out, but have some good spells in there as well that can make him get in and cause some disruption.
And actually, when I did some research on Belial because of your design, I noticed something that I haven't noticed when actually playing Diablo 3, that he does have more than one face. He has like
He has 3.
several faces. Yeah, 3 exactly. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. So you always learn new things when doing some research for this show. I like it.
So yeah, the trait is Veiled Helpers. So I believe it's in the first phase. Belial summons down some Veiled Sentinels to try and help him. One of them's a Veiled Sentinel, the other one's a Veiled Evoker. So what I've gone for here is, it's kind of like pick and choose. So you can toggle between the two of which one you want to summon. So I've said every 10 seconds, but that might be a little bit too short, maybe 15, 20 seconds or so.
Mm-hmm.
Passively summon either a Veiled Sentinel or a Veiled Evoker. Activate to switch, whichever gets spawned. So the Sentinel is going to be melee. It will be no, that's meant melee, low HP, and have some high damage in there. And whereas the Evoker will be a little bit tankier and have lower damage, but be able to persist a little bit more.
So just to give us the chance of immersing a little bit more into that champion, what would the minions look like? What weapons would they wield?
So the Veiled Sentinel, although melee, would be... He'd have like a trident kind of thing, I imagine.
I like it.
Though it wouldn't exactly be melee. Well, in theory it's melee because it's like a hand weapon, but would be just a little bit over normal melee form.
Gotcha.
So like you can imagine like a long prod kind of thing coming in. Yeah.
Sweet.
And the Veiled Invoke would be tankier, lower damage, but still there. It'd be like blocking skill shots and things like that.
Any comments on that so far, Bakery? Do you like the
Oh, it's
idea of
interesting.
Belial? Like, were you a fan when playing Diablo 3 yourself?
I actually couldn't remember who it was at first because
Yeah.
obviously I really enjoyed Diablo 3. I have remembered now, and
Yeah.
I don't remember the boss fight at all. I remember it being incredibly easy on every difficulty. And that's the only thing I
I
remember
think
about
I
it.
had trouble with it. I think.
I think
Really?
it depended on the class that you were playing. If you
Yeah.
if you had a mobile class, it was pretty easy because you could dodge all the spells fairly.
Yeah.
I
quickly.
was doing Rend Rupture Barbarian at
Nice.
the time.
Sweet.
Yeah. So something else that pops up during Belial's phases is that he shoots out a fireball, and I thought, just throw that in there. It's a classic, easy to envision spell.
Yeah.
So why not chuck it in there? Launch 3 fireballs in a cone in front of Belial, penetrating each enemy hit. And because Belial is a liar, have them obviously not made of fire. So name the spell Fireball, but don't make them orange. Make them blue, black, green, red.
Sweet,
or
I like
slightly
it.
off red.
And I don't know if you did it on purpose, Haas, but he's shooting out 3 fireballs, you said, in the cone in
Yeah.
front of him. And he has got 3 faces, doesn't he? So
Yeah, no, that wasn't on purpose.
totally planned. All planned.
I just imagine like a cone in front, like one going straight ahead, almost like Twisted Fate's wildcards
Nice.
kind of thing.
Or Arsenal and Valor.
What?
Arsenal on Valor. The grenades.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the grenades. Yeah.
Cool. Definitely a
Never
good
guess I'm a
idea.
color caster.
And by the way, we have to clarify one thing here, I think.
Yep.
Would Belial be a melee or a ranged
Melee, 100% melee.
champion? 100% melee. Okay, cool.
Yep.
W.
So the W, it's going to look like I stole the name of a skill off Bakery earlier with his Phoenix, but it's cleave. For the next 5 seconds, well, it's
But,
unlike
Belial
Azera's
isn't
cleave.
really cleaving because he is a liar
Yeah.
after all, so we're totally fine here.
Yeah. For the next 5 seconds, Belial's auto attacks become a cleave that applies a stack in slow. So, like an arc in front of him, instead of hitting one target, he just does splash damage.
Yeah.
Applies a stack in slow and has increased damage. So, the more you hit someone, the more, of course, they're going to get slowed. And that slow would be a lot more to the main target than than the others that get hit.
Mhm.
So, just adding some utility in there, a little bit of more damage in there to help him out, and something that will really help him trade once he's in the middle of the fight.
Sweet, I like it. And it's also good for clearing waves, obviously. I mean, he's
Yeah,
got
of
his
course.
fireballs, but just an additional spell to keep up with all the other heroes in the game that do have great wave clear at the moment.
Yeah.
Cool.
And now, something that's missing in this kit at the moment is a gap closer.
Yep.
And again, going along the theme of a liar, we've got something called Smoke and Mirrors. Belial leaps forward to a target location, dealing damage. On impact, I envisage like a puff of smoke come out,
Mhm.
where he creates a clone of himself, as well as he lands and there's another clone of him there, which persists for a very brief period of time. So I was thinking like 1 second or so, just enough to soak up any initial damage that comes in, where the opponents could miss-target it.
Yeah.
So it's more of like an engage and just dealing damage. No real CC there because, of course, he has cleave, and he also has one of the heroics, which will come up next.
Now, would the clone that Belial would spawn be like Nova's clones that actually emit or mimic abilities
Yeah.
as well?
No, so it would just be there. It wouldn't do any auto attacks. It would just essentially
Gotcha.
stand there for
Cool.
like 1 second or so.
So what I always like about clone mechanics is that you can also use them defensively, right?
Yeah.
You stun to, or you stun, you port to a short position, or you dash over there, and then you use that to block a Stitches hook, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially in the higher ranks of play, in the competitive scene, we can see a lot of fancy clone
Like
plays.
the Zebo walls, barricade. I know
Exactly.
Bakery disliked it when they took the barricade mechanic away.
I was so sad. I cried.
I know. Yeah.
Like
I-
a note on that a bit. Did
Go on.
you say it creates a clone where you leapt from and where
where
you
you
leap
land.
to? Just
where
where
you
you
land.
land.
Yeah.
Is there any form of like stealthing for 1 second or anything, or half a second when he gets there, so that
So yeah, just enough time to. So that's what I was thinking with like the puff of smoke.
Yeah,
So that it would stealth him, so that
That's
they
a good
both
point.
pop up at the same time.
I think that makes the spell a lot better, and
Yeah.
still not broken in my opinion.
No,
Like,
it's-
give him a
it'd be
mini
a very
stealth,
brief
mini
time.
cloak.
Essentially, LeBlanc's passive.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So yeah,
And you could not control the clone either, could you?
No, it would just be there for just to soak up any initial damage, block any initial skill shots, just to help him survive that a little bit longer.
I like it. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah.
All right.
So now ground pound is the first heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Belial slams the ground 3 times, once to his right, the second to his left, and then the third time with both arms. Each strike knocks up enemies hit and stunning them for a short period of time. The third strike will stun both allies and foes.
I like that.
So what I imagined here
go ahead.
would be like the first one would just be the right-hand side, second one the left-hand side, and then just complete rage, just slams both of them down. And it would only be the third one that knocks up allies and foes.
Nice. So you kind of got the theme going that Belial would even lie to his allies and betray them by knocking them up and stunning them. I like this quite a bit. It also makes the spell not like a just mind-blowing, easy spell for just stunning people around. You would actually have to pay attention not to hit your own guys.
Yeah, so the idea is that you'd be there on the front line as a specialist. I don't think we have melee specialists, do we, except Murky?
Abathur, actually.
Abathur, you have a point there.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't really see Abathur in the heat of battle, unless they're
you only see an Abathur in melee form in my videos. So
yeah. But yeah, so you're like there in the middle of the battle at the front line kind of thing, doing all your special things, and then you're also going to be.
What about Gaslow, by the way?
Oh yeah.
I too just looked at the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smart chat is smart.
Yeah. Again, you'd never guess I was a color caster.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, and now the second heroic is actually a really iconic thing in the boss fight from Belial. It's one that I remember quite vividly.
Yep.
Where there's a phase where he just brings out a load of poisonous rings, and this is what I went for with Poison Strike. Belial summons green rings of poison around him, which explode after 3 seconds, I said, or a brief period of time, dealing burst damage, slowing targets, and affecting them with poison, which of course is a dot. So again, you'd be able to dodge them, but if you want to get close to Belial, you're going to have to obviously walk through them or get out before they explode.
Nice, I like it.
So yeah, there's no real line in that one.
Hang on a second. So he summons rings of poison.
Yes.
So when heroes walk through them, like before the 3 second window, they get slowed.
No, I was going to go for on explosion. So what?
So effectively, this is just a zoning tool, or
it's a zoning tool, and then if you get caught on it, that's why I said 3 seconds might be a little bit too long. Maybe 1 second or so, just to keep the surprise element there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, maybe.
I mean, in a wombo combo, this does have very huge potential.
Yeah, certainly so. Imagine that with maybe like a Nova.
Yeah.
So like green rings go off. There's a slow in there. Precision strike.
Pretty much any AOE CC ult.
Yeah, anything like that.
I like it.
Exactly right, and that is Belial, Lord of Lies.
And just imagine once again the cool things that Blizzard could come up with when designing Belial, the Lord of Lies, like having him giggle all the time when he casts spells, or I think it would just be amazing, the possibilities there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's pretty much the 3 heroes that we came up with this week, guys. If you want to vote and let us know which design you enjoyed the most, then please do so, because there will be a link in the channel description or in the video description down below if you are on YouTube, and in the chat if you are watching this live on Twitch. The links are up right now, so please don't make Haas win again, I guess. No, totally kidding. You can do that if you like Belial.
Well, we've actually had the first week was you and the guest tied.
Yeah.
The second week was you and the guest tied. Last week the guest won. So Bakery, there's a lot of pressure on you. And to be fair, with Phoenix.
Indeed.
I'm hoping like the fanboys of Phoenix, like me, they will pay off here.
Awesome. So guys,
3 votes already. I like this.
Oh,
I did not. The horse is vote rigging. I can feel it.
Are you kidding me? I
haven't even voted. I just went straight to results.
That has to be like, we won't tell you guys.
Horse has got his mum involved.
Hendrix fans, I love you guys. Awesome sauce.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we've come to the end of the show. Bakery, why don't you get rid of some shout-outs, some other stuff you want to say to the people out there? Anything?
Is this where you bring up a sponsor list?
I need no list, my friend. Okay, so a shout out to our sponsors, Median, Intel, AS Rock, HyperX, GameD, Inwin, Myonix. That's it.
Nice.
A shout out to Keithers, because Keithers is awesome. Shout out to my team, go team, and to you guys for having me, I guess.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Thank you
And of
very
course,
much.
go follow Bakery on Twitter. It's on the screen.
Yeah, follow
yeah,
Bakery
yeah.
at
Yeah, do that.
exactly. You
All
can
those
see
shout
it on the
outs, and then
screen.
you don't even shout out yourself.
Cool, Hoss, take it away.
Same old, twitch.tv/Hosselot, twitter.com/Hosselot, YouTube. I don't have a actual URL yet, so just check my Twitter for that one. VODs go up more or less almost every day. Content will be very slow over the next 3 days because I'm actually going to be working with Blizzard at Eurogamer this weekend, which is going to be awesome
Look
sauce.
at you.
I know, right? But I think I'll be doing the NA Gopher Heroes on Sunday evening, so watch out for that one.
Awesome. And of course, also give Hoss a
Yeah.
follow on Twitter. Is always good. He will keep you up to date on his casting projects. Yeah, thank you everybody for watching here on Twitch and on YouTube as well, of course. And yeah, stay tuned for next week. And that's pretty much it. We're out. Bye-bye.